Hi everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Let's Talk People Development. I'm Luke, Danny's with me as always, and today we are talking about the transparency conflict.
We are. Interesting subject.
We are here today, actually, another outdoor venue that we've taken the opportunity to use. We're at Wembley. We were just discussing our equivalent of our FA Cup here, because tonight we are at the BQF Awards, celebrating, or hopefully celebrating.
UK Excellence is they're badging it up. Yeah.
UK fantastic. Excellence Awards with Centrica, as we get to celebrate, even regardless of the outcome. We will celebrate what has been a fantastic few years of supporting their people team and their people. However, there is some relevance to why we're doing this subject and how we've shaped this subject today, isn't there, Danny?
Yeah, there is. And I think, it's hey, look, the world continues to be tougher and tougher and tougher for people in all different ways, shapes and forms.
Yeah.
Difficult for individuals, people, consumers, our people, difficult for businesses to know where to draw the line in this quite difficult subject of transparency, because we're always talking about openness and being clear and communicating, articulating where you're going and what you're doing. But how do you do that in really challenging times when perhaps sometimes it's not as easy as what it seems?
Absolutely, and I think that's the reason that we wanted to bring this to the fore, because today we stand here. We were lucky enough to go to some awards a couple of years ago as a full team, right? Yes. We took everybody. We had a big table of 10, and today we find ourselves, you, me, and Georgia, rightly so, in terms of the team that actually delivered this particular project. However, at the start of the year, we set out with some really clear aims, right? Absolutely. So there was the growth ambitions, there were the people ambitions, there was the development of our content, all of the things that you would expect to see in our plan.
And team activities was part of that.
Absolutely, it was. And there was a budget put in place, a budget that I believe is an educated budget based on where we've come from, where we're going, understanding the different marketplaces that we work in, and thinking, right, we've got to not be cautious, but we have got to be realistic. We've got to think about what's going to work best for our business right now. And, not forgetting we're only in March. There's a lot of the year left, so things can always change, but that can change in lots of different directions depending on the gust of wind that we get, right?
Absolutely right.
So the reason that we brought it up is, and felt like it was a good topic to talk about, is because we haven't got everybody here today, and we had to have that conversation with everyone, as opposed to coming up with lots of different reasons as to why. We made it really clear it was a budgetary thing. This isn't about our business being at risk, but this is about managing our business properly, and therefore we included them, right?
Sensible decisions, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's not a decision taken lightly either, is it? It's not it's a big deal, right? This is the biggest opportunity we've had in the award arena ever.
Yeah.
Right? That's how big it is. And what got us here today was an everybody thing. Everybody was involved intrinsically in getting us where we are today. Yet we can't make it that big party that we'd like to be, because we've made the right decision, the right call.
And in one way, shape or form, everybody in our business contributes to all projects.
They do.
Right? Whether that's directly or indirectly. So everybody does deserve to be here. But I think, again, if we talk about the transparency conflict, let's then look outwardly and sort of shape this around not just us, but what we're seeing externally. There's huge restructures going on everywhere that we see, redundancies, changes in budgets, changes in teams, changes in growth strategy, changes in customer strategy. All of these things are creating huge amounts of change, huge amounts of risk, huge amounts of uncertainty. And therefore, quite rightly, as leaders, we're conflicted. Do we give everybody all of that information that we have, and in a time of uncertainty, create more fear? Or do we reserve some of that? Hold back. And what's the answer?
Well,
Danny,
what's the answer? Oh, what a simple question you asked.
Yeah.
But I think the answer is to start with is to consider the options, right? So that is you talk through, okay, so here's the different choices we've got. These are the decisions that we can make, or these are the decisions we have to make. Sometimes organizations say we have no choice, you have to make the decision. And then exercising through or talking through, how much of that we share. And I think if you bring to life, for me, it's about bringing to life the reasoning and the rationale behind it. so people understand. Fear is often because of unknown. So I fear something because I don't know the output or the consequences or the impact. Whereas if you can talk that through, then I think you can find a way to be incredibly transparent. Maybe not completely transparent, because you have to decide that, but you can be incredibly transparent, but also help people understand the reasoning behind the decision.
But outside of a legal obligation, right, which I totally understand, if there is a legal reason that you cannot communicate something, then realistically, what should we hold back? What should we be, unclear on? Because for me, if you've got 10 people in your organization or 10,000 people, when in leadership we talk about treating everyone uniquely, you should give them their own unique opportunity to process the information that you have. If there is no, risk or legal risk to what you're saying, right?
Well, yeah, but you've got this challenge, haven't you? Because that's where the kind of the whispers start, right? You start to then find that, well, I tell one, share one thing with one person, and actually they then share that with somebody else, and that becomes then a different version of the truth. Maybe the question is, because you talked there about how do you decide that? Is it about what's the impact, not what's the impact, what's the benefit of sharing?
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Instead of what's the impact is, what would the benefits be?
Yeah, so if I tell you this, does that help you in some way, shape, or form? Or does it hinder you? If it hinders you, I'll probably go, you know what? I'm probably better off not sharing that with you.
Yeah.
Because at this time, I might have limited information. So therefore I go, I've only got 10% of the puzzle. Therefore, if I share that 10% with you, and that makes you go, oh my God, what does that mean? And you start fearing it, and I can't answer the other 90%, maybe I'll wait till I've got more information, because that's going to benefit you better.
Right, so I really like that, and we never pre-script anything. So instead of thinking about what the impact of that person was, because that's almost playing defensively, is what would the benefits be to me telling them? So I'm looking at it through a more optimistic lens, a more forward-thinking lens of, if I tell them this, would they benefit from it?
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting way. Now, let's play that back to our situation then, Danny. So what are the benefits of telling everybody that this time round we're only taking a few people? Well, from my perspective, the benefits for them is that they 100% understand the reason why. The benefits for them in terms of the way we positioned it is that we will look for other opportunities.
Yes.
That we are absolutely aware that this isn't where we want to be, but we will find other opportunities, so that they're aware that they've got something to look forward to in the future. We don't know what that is yet.
Absolutely. And also, we're gonna, when we win, when we win, we're gonna celebrate together, and that celebration will be greater than the celebration we have here tonight.
Absolutely. And that will be the case when we win.
Yeah.
I think there's something else as well that I want to pick up on, and I think there's a time factor here, right? So you talked about 10%, right? I only have 10% of the information. I think you should set a time limit on that, because that 10% might be all you get.
Ever.
So let's say a piece of information comes down the line, as we say, and I feel like it's only 10%, and therefore I assess that the benefits aren't enough for me to share that. But 4 weeks go by.
Yeah.
Right? And nothing's gone any further. In fact, it never did go any further. Surely, if you can't seek out those benefits or get any more benefits built, then you should still share that information if you give yourself a timeline. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. And the reason for that is because you're then creating even more parts of the story. So if I say, I've just heard this bit of information 5 minutes ago, but I've only got 10% of it, and you go, okay, well, what about this? No, I don't know the answer. What about this? I don't know the answer. What about this? It's like, blimey, that's really useful. Not to me, because it's useless information. If you said to me, hey, look, about 4 weeks ago, I picked up this bit of information. I'm none the wiser from that point, but I wanted to share with you what I'd got so far. And the fact I don't think we're going to get any more, now I understand why you've not told me, and now I understand the limitations of it, because in that 4 weeks, it hasn't developed or evolved. So it goes back to that kind of, it's storytelling, but not in the traditional sense. It's about contextualizing the situation you find yourself in. And I think most human beings are really receptive to that, because they do get it. I think most people go, okay, I get it. I get that you're in that situation. And therefore they don't become resentful to it. And, oh, why didn't you tell me before? Or why didn't you show me? I did it for you.
Well, I was going to say there, why didn't you tell me before? Now, this is where you reassess the benefit. So it's been 2 weeks. I thought 2 weeks ago there was no benefit. However, now I feel like it's a situation that has become dormant. But by dormant, it doesn't mean it's gone away.
No.
So the benefit of giving it a time frame is that if that then reoccurs, I don't in 6 months say, I actually knew about this. What I do say is, this is the information that I have. It's gone nowhere, but I'm also not saying that it won't be a conversation that we're having again in the future. And therefore, for me, the reassessment of the benefits based on no progression of what you know, and I know this is all kind of hypothetically speaking, but it is so, so important. Because for me, we will always be conflicted as leaders, whether that be leaders of people, leaders of organisations, as to what the right thing to do is.
And it's a tough dilemma, that, right? I think that is a real life position that most people find themselves in, and they go, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do for the right year. Like you say, it's almost easier when it's a legal requirement. You're not allowed to tell anybody, oh, great. It's like, oh, I don't have to think because I'm not allowed to. I'm not permitted to.
And I think it's a little bit like the focus funnel. It's a tool for those listening that we use when it comes to decision making. It's very, very similar, right? First and foremost, from my perspective, I love this idea of switching the mindset from what would be the impact to what would be the benefit. But I also think you've got to find a really good reason not to be transparent.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's another way that you should be looking through that lens. It's too easy, and I often use the word too lazy to go, it'll be all right. I don't need to mention that, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't want to deal with that now, so I'm going to kick that can down the road. And I guess, I'm not standing here, today saying that we get it right every single time. But there has got to be a particularly good reason not to be transparent beyond it. So forget the legal part.
Yeah.
Right, because actually transparency does create a great culture.
Yeah.
Because for people, it builds trust. Even if it's bad news, there's enough trust there for me to be able to you've got an opportunity through being honest to build trust is what I'm saying.
And people don't feel that you remove the risk of people feeling blindsided by something where they go, well, thanks very much. If you'd known about this ages ago and you've not shared it with me, just being able to process it would have made it a bit easier for me.
Yeah.
So you're removing that mindset. So I do believe, your objective should be, right, I want to be ultra transparent about this. Right, okay, that's what I want to be. That's my objective. Right, what are the benefits of me doing so? X, Y, Z. What are the risks of doing so?
Yeah.
Then you can make an informed decision. And I think, the way I consider it is, it's kind of, I can't keep saying it on this podcast, cutting yourself some slack, but that is, do the best you can, make the best decision you can with what you've got. And you know what? People can't ask any more than that.
And I think it comes down to what we talk about in any sort of a piece of leadership thinking is same with giving feedback, right? Plan for it. Plan for outcomes. Think about how people might react. Give people time. Maybe stage one is inform people.
Yeah.
But then with that say, and I'm going to let's get back together in 2 days once you've had time to think about it, you've had time to reflect. Let's have a discussion. Okay, and that's where you're getting into that engagement, the conversation, the inclusion. But to your point, if it does backfire, right, and you're talking about cutting yourself some slack, if you can genuinely say that the reason that I've done this is to give them an opportunity to be their best in this situation, right, to react the way that they need to react to whatever that change coming down the line may well be, then you've done your best, right? And if you're criticised for that, then for me, I would be turning around and going, hey, do you know what? I said it right from the beginning. I'm going to give you this information, right? And it might not be necessarily information that creates comfort right now, but what I'm giving it you for is to go beyond that, to think about longer term, how you might benefit from knowing all of the factors that are in play right now. I appreciate you're going to have your own reaction to this. So I think we get back together at another point. And if at that next point you get back together, there is some suggestion of, I wish I didn't know.
But
that is not your fault. That is that person's character. And that is them almost offsetting their fears on you. And that's okay, right? That's what everybody reacts to.
You can carry that. But everything you described there is the point. It's your intent. If your intent is to do something because you believe it's the right thing to do with what you've got, with all the information you've got, and that works out well, great. If it doesn't work out so well, then you know what, your intent was right. And I think we live in a world where people with all the right intentions get criticised for making decisions, but they did the best they could where they found themselves. I don't think that's a place to criticise, and I don't think we should. And I think we should say to people, hey, look, do you know what? Let's pick up, learn from it. Let's try again next time. Let's maybe do things different next time. And isn't that what Let's Talking About People Development is all about?
And I go back to, the learn from it. I did my best, as you've just said. We go back to that episode with Georgie Brayshaw, right? If anybody's listened to that, there were 3 episodes on it. And she placed that same level of mindset on the choices that her teammates, Hannah, I believe, was the one that would make the decisions in the boat on the day across the 2K race.
2K
race, yeah. And she placed that same level of faith and trust. So I had somebody challenge me around, it's all well and good of speaking to Olympians, but how's that real world? Well, what we're talking about there is someone makes a decision, they trust in them to make that decision, and without that, then what could we possibly do wrong? As long as their intention was to do it the right way, then surely that's the right thing.
I don't think you can say any fairer than that.
So, thank you again for listening. It's a shorter episode this week. We're going to get back inside and focus on what's to come, celebrate this evening. But when it comes to transparency, do your best, do what's right, and really focus on the individuals and give them the chance to learn for themselves. Right, Danny?
Absolutely right.
Speak to you all soon. Take care. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to take a small moment to apologise for what may have sounded like, or looked like, if you're watching on YouTube, a very abrupt ending. And it was that. In fact, we ended a little bit shorter, if you'll notice, on time than we normally do. We mentioned at the start of the episode that we were outside of Wembley Stadium, and we were approached by a security team and a very unhappy looking individual who asked us whether we had our media license to be filming outside of Wembley Stadium, which we didn't. So we had to wrap things up quickly, but hopefully you were able to take what you wanted from that episode, what you needed from that episode, if anything, and really start to think about transparency and the conflict that we always have to play out as leaders. It's not always an easy decision, but by putting that thought into it, weighing up the benefits as opposed to the impact, and also really looking at it and scrutinizing the reasons that you wouldn't be transparent, they're the key things that we need to always be challenging ourselves on, thinking about, in order to ensure that we create an environment of trust and openness where we possibly can. Thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you again very soon.